Earthship Biotecture is a company designing and building sustainable off-the-grid homes that provide you with everything you need. Fresh water through water catchment and water recycling, power through solar, contained sewage treatment, heating and cooling through thermal mass, grows food inside, and is made with recycled materials. I'm here in New Mexico and I spoke with Mike Reynolds, the founder and director, about his work and about his vision for rebuilding Christchurch. What countries have you built in so far, and how do you work to make them climate specific?
On the countries we have built in, it's pretty much, I'd say, a complete scattering all over the world. Asia, China, Japan, South America, Africa, Canada, Central America, of course America, Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe. Really, we have speckled all over the earth with this, and part of the reason we are interested in doing that is to get this and test it in every climate, because these buildings are powered from natural phenomena. They are facilitated by natural phenomena. Natural phenomena cannot be bought out, cannot be voted out, cannot be corrupted. You know, the sun is what it is. It'll kill you or it'll save you. These buildings tell you how to make it save you. So the Earthship is just tuning it different. The roofs are bigger to catch more water in dry climates. The cisterns are smaller in wet climates because it rains often. In cold climates, there's sometimes 1, 2, even 3 greenhouses, whereas in hot climates there's only 1, and in super tropical climates there's just a veranda. So the building changes. I would stay, first of all, low-profile housing. I would stay away from multi-story in an earthquake area. I would go with housing that hugs the ground, is made of automobile tires, and is rammed with earth, and is using the steel vaulted and domed roofs that we have been making. You make a steel bird cage and you plaster it real thin like a potato chip, and it doesn't provide a tremendous amount of weight to fall in on you. In fact, there is so much steel it won't fall in. It could still crack in an earthquake, but it wouldn't fall in. So this is a very earthquake resistant structure. Creation of an Earthship is like, you know, similar to any other housing approach. You can do it yourself and study up, and if you're strong and can do work, you can get it really cheap. If you can't do work and you have to hire it done, it's more expensive. The general price of an Earthship compares quite a bit to the general price of any kind of conventional housing. It's about the same. The difference is the Earthship concept provides a building that takes care of you with no utilities, so your overall living expenses aren't the same. They're less because in a conventional situation you have to pay for the building and utilities on an ongoing basis, whereas with an Earthship, once you pay for the building, it's over. You're home free. If Christchurch has more clouds than we want, we would go with thin film solar panels for electricity, because we have found them to produce around and approaching 30% of their ability to produce power in the sun. They produce 30% of it, roughly, in diffused light, clouds. And that's pretty significant. And so that's one way we would adapt to the lack of sun. As far as the heating goes of the building, whatever sun you do get is going to be stored in the building, but sun is not really the main factor, it's just the partial factor. Thermal mass is the other partial factor, and the thermal mass tends to hold temperature and keep saving it up year after year. So the thermal mass will stabilize the building. We run into varying degrees of permit hassles, let's call them, obstructions. The permit situation is always in flux because as the planet approaches more and more a crisis level on power, our water, our environment, the permit situation tends to respond to that a little bit and get a little more welcoming in terms of alternative methods of providing housing and utilities for people. But in general, the permit structure throughout the world in the developed countries is the biggest problem. It's worse than financial, and it's worse than just learning how to do it. It is inhibiting the evolution of people on this planet. That being said, individuals throughout the world are 50% are not having that much trouble, and 50% are having ridiculous amounts of trouble. Case in point, we have a project in Australia. The guy's been working on getting his permit for almost 3 years. That's absurd. We do not have time to spend 3 years on a permit to get someone in a home. This is a travesty, in my opinion. The core structural material of an Earthship is automobile tires rammed with earth, laid in staggered coursing just like any other brick, only these are huge 400-pound bricks, which results in a coefficient of friction due to the weight that is just phenomenal. And it's basically a steel-belted rubber casing full of rammed earth. Nothing about that can crack. The plaster can crack, but the structure is resilient to the point of even being able to move somewhat without collapse. So it is actually one of the most, if not the most, ideal material for coping with earthquake. Of course, it has many other qualities too. It's great for thermal mass, storage of energy. It takes very little skill to do this, so it's easy to learn. It's low tech. It's getting rid of a product that is on this planet that we have mountains of that we don't have anything to do with. The basic Earthship is really a concept. It's a concept of a standalone building. A lot of people compare it to like a lunar lander or something, or a spaceship, really, that it's self-contained. The things that people need for survival and sustenance, it provides. Unlike a regular home that has to be hooked up to a power grid, electric, gas grid, a sewage grid, a water grid, has to have food delivered to it. This thing is a vessel that harvests its own water, harvests its own power, heats and cools itself from physics, applications of physics, without fuel, contains and treats its own sewage from applications of biology, and produces food from applications of biology. So it's a vessel that through its encounter with Earth phenomena provides for its inhabitants completely.